Well, here we are 5 years later owning my 2014 R35 Nissan GTR. If you told me 5 years ago, January 2018, when I bought this car, that I would make some of the most amazing memories of my life behind the wheel of this car would lead me to my wife, this car would help build our business, this car would appreciate in value and become the car that I've owned the longest, I've put the most miles on. I don't know, I would not have believed you. This car has been so much more than a car for me. It's been honestly the single greatest thing I've ever purchased. Material items don't really mean much in life. However, this car has brought so much more than just a fun car to me. And I am a firm believer, if there's any goal you have in life, make those goals a reality. If you have a dream, go after your dreams and seriously make them happen. You won't regret it. Now, there will be a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work to make those dreams turn into a reality, but with good decision making and a positive attitude, dreams can be turned into reality very easily. It'll take some time, but it is very well worth it. So 5 years into the GTR, it's been an awesome experience, and I can't really begin to explain how much of a fun car this has been and how many cool things I've done with this car. So to get into my 5-year update, the backstory on this GTR, I bought it back in 2018. It was a one-owner car with 24,000 miles, and it was sitting at a Nissan dealership 500 miles away from me at the same dealer that sold this when it was a brand new car. So it's kind of a cool story to be able to buy that. I bought it sight unseen, had them ship it to me. My Nismo 370Z got loaded up and shipped to the dealership. So that's how I basically bought it. The first year and a half, this was my only car. I had my motorcycle alongside it, of course, but this was the daily. This was my car, so I used it for all the normal things you would imagine: grocery shopping, driving in the rain, commuting, going to the track, the mountains, stuff like that, pretty much everything. A year and a half later, I bought the Toyota Supra to kind of alleviate the daily driving aspects. The Supra I use for a lot more of just racking up miles, going to the airport and back every month. My now wife, when we were dating, we lived 10 hours apart, so every single month, driving to the airport and back. So the Supra was used for that. Supra was used for pretty much all the normal driving where I knew I would have to do highway and traffic, because that thing had a lot of technology, super comfortable. I would use this more for the weekends and purely fun driving. And ever since I sold the Supra, I've always had another car next to it to alleviate that. So this hasn't been the real daily in quite some time. I drive maybe 3,000 miles a year on it the last few years. First year I owned it, I put 5,000 miles on it, which is pretty normal for someone who daily drives a motorcycle a lot. And at the time, I worked 3 miles from my apartment at the time. So this car's kind of done it all. I've been to the drag strip a few times. I've been to the racetrack a few times with it. Mountain road trips, I've done a ton. That's probably the biggest thing I do. I love driving in the mountains. The daily driving, the commute, I've driven this car in every circumstance. I've driven it in the snow, the rain, the shine. When we got married, we drove this 1,600 miles in 1 week from North Carolina to Michigan to get married. Made a whole video on that if you missed that. It was a really awesome experience. So I've done it all in this car, and it really has just opened the door to so many really cool memories. So it's been a heck of a lot of fun for the 5 years I've owned it, and done things that I just never thought a car would bring me. Now, as far as modifications, this is far from a stock car. I bought it bone stock, which is really cool. I like buying bone stock, that way I can create the car in my vision. From bone stock, I have a set of H&R lowering springs, the Vossen wheels, an AAM active exhaust system, the mid-pipe, catless downpipes, larger air intakes, larger intercooler, upgraded intercooler piping, bigger recirculation valves. I have a flex fuel kit, bigger fuel pumps, 1050cc fuel injectors. The car has a full paint correction and ceramic coating done to it, and then the window tint, and then of course custom tuning for the flex fuel and stuff like that. The engine makes around 700 horsepower. I've never had the opportunity to actually dyno it, but based on the tuner that's tuned the car and other cars like it, it makes around 650 at the wheels on full E85 and maybe 620 or so on 93. So it is a fast car, and a lot of people ask me, am I gonna modify it further, things like that. Honestly, the last 2 years I haven't really modified the car. It is perfect in my eyes. I feel like this drives amazing. It's bulletproof reliable. It is so incredibly fast and fun. There's just no real reason to upgrade it any further. If I dive more into power, you're talking 20 to 30 grand a pop for every modification. Bigger turbos means building the trans, building the axles. It's just a waste of money in my opinion. With 700 horsepower, I mean, you're gonna hit 120 miles an hour on an on-ramp. You can get into trouble with the car the way it sits, and it's so usable, and yet it's so crazy fast. it is perfect. There's no reason, I have no desire to modify it any further. This thing is the exact way I want it. And I'm pretty sure when I made my 3-year update on this car, I was kind of done modifying it at that time, and I said I'm just going to enjoy the car. And the last 2 years, that's what I've been doing. I've just been enjoying the car, the way it sits. I haven't really filmed much content because I'm not really too motivated to change anything on it. I love the way the car sits, the way it is right now. So I haven't really filmed much on it. I've just been enjoying it off camera, using it as much as I possibly can. And it's a car that I crave to drive. When we are out of town for a week, you know, in either a press car or in our other car or something, I am excited to get home and take this for a spin. This car is miles per gallon. I don't care if I have to fill it up with gas. I don't care about that at all. I drive it to have fun now. And it has been an experience, and it is an experience every time I drive it. So that's probably my favorite thing about it. The way it sits, it's perfect. It's just such a blast. So with that said, my most favorite thing about my modified Nissan GTR is the experience. Like I said, it's a car I crave driving, and it's always something special. Obviously, I'm in a very fortunate situation where my job is filming cars. I film hundreds of cars every single year, from basic Toyota Corollas to Lamborghini Aventadors. I've driven a huge spectrum of cars, which has obviously been pretty amazing as a car enthusiast to be able to do that for a living. And this car with the mods still stands out as one of my top 5 favorite cars to drive. It is just so much fun. And on the flip side, even with it being one of the fastest cars on the street, when I put the exhaust valve to quiet mode, comfort suspension mode, put it in automatic mode, it's a pretty normal car. It's got back seats and a huge trunk, and it is so usable. We can literally do a Costco grocery trip after 2 weeks without shopping for food and load this thing up and buy hundreds of dollars worth of food. This thing can hold anything. Driving up to the wedding and everything, we had it loaded coming back with wedding gifts. So this is so practical, so usable, and yet it is so fast and an experience. Not many cars offer the crazy performance enthusiast experience and a normal practical daily driver. So that is single-handedly my favorite aspect of this car. I don't really have a least favorite aspect. Now, I've made the videos, 5 things I hate about my GTR and stuff like that. Honestly, it's just a car that has so much character. I think not everybody is going to like this because it has a clunky transmission. It's a little outdated in technology. It's not the easiest car to drive. It's just a little clunky and kind of weird the way the drivetrain's set up. But I feel like all that adds character to it, which is something I like and can appreciate with this car. It certainly just is a little rough around the edges if you want something more comfortable. So that's the only downfall. A little noisy on the highway, a little clunky in slow speeds, things like that. So moving on to maintenance, registration, and insurance. What does it actually cost to keep an R35 on the road? So as far as maintenance goes, in all my cars, I change the oil every 5,000 miles or once a year, whatever comes first. This car cost me about 50 bucks to do an oil change. It's 5 1/4 quarts worth of oil and an oil filter, and I can do it in 30 minutes. If you go to Nissan, they're gonna charge you like $300 for the same thing. That's 6 times more money. If you bring these cars to Nissan to maintain them, you will be spending a ton of money. They are so easy to maintain yourself for most of the basics, and it's really nothing crazy. So oil change, I do that every year, 50 bucks. Every 35,000 miles, you're gonna need to do a transmission flush along with the differentials. I did work with a shop to help me with that, performance shop, and that was already like 400 bucks worth of oil. So that's a kind of a pricey bill. However, every 35,000 miles, I've only had to do that one time. I did that about 2 years ago, and the next time that needs it is when this thing hits 70,000 miles. So obviously that's many, many years away. And then the only other maintenance I've ever had to do is one set of tires. Performance Michelin tires is what I run on this car, and they were $1,500. And then an alignment I did, Nissan will charge you $300 for an alignment. However, a normal shop can do it for 100 bucks. So that's what I did. And that is the only maintenance I have ever had to do to this car. It has been perfectly reliable. I've never had a check engine light. I've never had a mechanical issue whatsoever. And maintaining it hasn't been anything out of the ordinary. If you can maintain a Honda Civic, you can maintain a GTR. It has literally been nothing. When I bought this car, so many people commented and told me, you might be able to afford the car, but you will never afford to maintain it. I don't know where those people got their information. This is not a Bugatti that needs $40,000 wheels and a servicing that costs 20 grand. This is so simple. It's honestly the exact same as my 370Zs from the past. So maintenance, super easy, no big deal. Insurance, it changes a little bit depending on if you have one car or 2 cars, obviously. This has averaged about $1,000 per year to keep it insured. Now, with that said, I have full coverage, every single thing needed to responsibly own this car in the state of North Carolina. Your credit score, your zip code, your history makes a huge difference. I've been driving for over 12 years. I have a perfect history. I've never had an accident, never had a ticket. That helps. I also pay in full every year, which is a huge discount. I also had the highest deductible because honestly, it only took 8 months of owning this car at that highest deductible to save the money to cover that deductible because the premium was so much lower. So if you're really smart with how you insure the car, then nothing crazy to insure. I know different states are way different, but at least in North Carolina, with a history like mine and paying in full, high deductible, I mean, $1,000, not really too much to worry about. And then the last thing is the taxes and registration. So every year in North Carolina, we have to pay our property tax on it, which is also the same bill for our renewal for registration. This year is $350. I think the most expensive was around $650 year number one. Obviously, every single year it gets a little bit cheaper as the tax value of the car technically goes lower and lower. And that's it. That is maintenance history. That's all the costs and stuff to actually keep this running. It's been nothing out of the ordinary. A very normal car to keep on the road. So with all of that said, that leads me to the final point of today's video, which is what are the future plans and what does the future look like for this GTR and myself? To be honest, some of you aren't going to like this. I am planning to sell the car shortly-ish. Sometime this year, I'm going to probably sell the car. Nothing against the car. I cannot say enough good things about the last 5 years owning this. It's been a dream come true. It's opened so many doors in my life that I never thought possible from a car. It's crazy when you follow your dreams, so many good things can happen. So I'm just such a firm believer in following your dreams. With that said, this car I dreamt about owning for 10 years until I turned it into a reality, and obviously it's been a heck of a lot of fun. However, there are other cars that I've been dreaming about since I was 10 years old. 18, 19 years of looking at model cars that I have, dreaming about owning them one day. And because this car, I mean, I paid it off a couple years ago, it's worth $80,000 to $90,000. That is a lot of money to go towards the next dream cars, which makes those not dream cars anymore, makes those reality. So I am planning to sell the car once the Nissan Z gets here, which I'm still waiting on. Then it's fine to sell because I'll have another car. Not quite practical to sell it now with just the one car between my wife and I. So once the Z's here, this is going to be going and I can turn the next car into reality. I love cars. I love experiencing new cars, and this kind of has done everything it could ever do for me. And at this point, I'm craving something new. I want to drive the next car. I want to check off the next bucket list car off my list and own it. And you know, whatever the next car may be, I may own it 6 months, I may own it 5 years, who knows? But regardless, I can buy the next car, and at that price point, there are so many other cars that I'm looking at as well that I could flip into the next one and the next one. And worst case, if I get bored of all of them and want a GTR, I'll buy another one. Regardless of the other cars I plan on owning, I feel like this is the time where I'd probably want to be selling this car anyway. You know, we're getting to 50,000 miles, 5 years. I kind of just want something new anyways. And worst case, I can have some fun playing with some other cars. And then my dream spec R35 is a 2020 Bayside Blue 50th anniversary. So as of this point, I would be selling this for that car anyways. So I might as well check off some other dream cars, have some fun with that. Have fun with the Z, building that up as my project car, obviously featuring that on the channel quite a bit. And then years down the road, if I want another GTR, I'll either buy the Bayside Blue 2020 or hopefully an R36 is out and I'll get the newer one and experience the next generation of this car. So sadly, yeah, I'm planning to sell the GTR after 5 years. It's been an amazing car. I love it so much. However, there are other cars I've dreamt about that are even bigger. And I feel like going to the next step of what I've been dreaming about since I was a little kid is just the best next thing to do. Like I said, buying this dream car opened up so many doors. I know the next car will do the same, and it'll just be the next amazing experience. So with all that said, this car is gonna be sad when that time comes. And the next car has gotta be as fun. Words can really, I don't even know, you can't describe this car in any other way absolute blast. But when the time comes to sell this car, I mean, I'm gonna be sad, I'm gonna miss it. However, it's an item, it's a material item. You can always buy another one and get into, you know, the dream spec, the base high blue one. And I just feel like at this time, this car has kind of done everything I ever could have asked it to do, to where there's not really much left. It's kind of just, I'm enjoying the car, obviously I love driving and everything, but I'm ready to take the next step onto the next dream car and kind of go to the next chapter of a whole new world of adventures and memories in another car. So I've had my fun with this car, it's done everything great, it's been perfect, and you know, the next person who buys this, hopefully they can appreciate it as much as I have and just build a ton of memories behind the wheel with this car. So that's kind of where my head's at. It's just getting to that time where, you know, I want something new, I want to get to that next step, the next bucket list item, and selling this car is how that can be a reality. And I'm excited for it, I really am. I'm excited for the future to get into the next car. I made a video on this. I've narrowed it down to not getting another GTR right now, and the Lamborghini Gallardo and a Porsche 911 GT3, those are my top two picks. I love the Lamborghini Gallardo. That is my childhood dream car. I have a model car of one that I got Christmas of 2005 or 2004. I was like 10 or 11 years old. And I moved a lot growing up, different apartments, different houses, different rental houses, things like that. I think I've lived in like 10 different places in the last 18 years or so. That model car, I never packaged up. I always kept it on display. And from the day I got that model car for Christmas, I told myself I was gonna buy one. So that's the dream, that's what I wanna do. And then the GT3 I have become a huge fan of in just the last year after getting to drive a few of them. I can see that car being next after the Gallardo, after I get bored with it being slow and pretty outdated. So I just want to experience these next batch of cars because, I don't know, life's about enjoying it. Make, you know, like I said, make your goals, make them a reality, and those are huge goals of mine. And like when I bought this, people said I shouldn't do it for whatever dumb reason. I know some people are gonna say I shouldn't do this for whatever dumb reason, but you gotta live your life, create your life, and it's so well worth it. So that's the plan. Once Aziz's here, I'm gonna work on all that, making it happen. But at the end of the day, this car has been amazing. I love owning it, and if you are looking for an amazing car, put one on your list. It's just been great, and I am excited for the future, and we will see what and when happens when with the next car. If you're interested in buying the GTR, let me know, comment, send me a message on Instagram, or send us an email, brosforspeed@gmail.com, and we can make it happen. I own the car outright, so it's super easy to sell it, whether you're gonna finance or pay cash. Really easy to do a private deal. But that is my 5-year update with this car. I can't believe how many videos I filmed on it. It's been a huge part of the channel. If you're new to the channel, check out our GTR playlist. There's hundreds of videos, 5 years worth of content on this car from stock to where it is now. So definitely check that out. But with that said, that is it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all in the next video.